1.1, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley, having established quorum, resolves to call the December 16th, 2019 regular meeting of Council to order at the hour of 5 p.m. Need a mover and a seconder, please. All in favor? Removal of items from the consent agenda. I think we did move one item, right, Monica?
Sir, yeah.
We moved to, which one was it?
There was a request that came
Oh
outside
yeah,
of their
request from the
timeline.
crop input, or whatever.
It's an agriculture.
Agriculture exposition, and we moved that onto the, it's on the,
As a discussion item. Yep.
it's in closed session? Or
No,
it's in the regular session. Yeah, okay, so other than that, I didn't see anything. Anybody see anything else they wanted to move?
No.
Okay. On to 2.2, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to adopt the agenda for the December 16, 2019 regular meeting of Council as presented, and that a copy of this agenda be attached to and form part of the minutes of this meeting. I need a mover in a second here. Gary? Ross? All in favor? Carried.
Yeah, he goes, we're really busy.
Anyone see any items they want to declare a conflict of interest on? I didn't. Monica and I met
No,
this
sir, I haven't
afternoon.
heard
Didn't see anything. Move on to 4.1, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves that whereas the time being 5:02 p.m., that the regular meeting of Council be adjourned to a confidential in-camera meeting. Again, I need a mover and a seconder on that, Chris. All in favor? Carried. That the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves, whereas the time being 7:11 p.m., that the confidential in-camera meeting is concluded and the regular meeting of Council is resumed. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Chris and Elise. All in favor? Thank you. Just while we're getting rolling here, there was something I wanted to mention. There's two people in the room here who did an awful lot of work out at the museum with their Festival of Lights out there. Our Councillor Elise Moss and our Communications Clerk Anna Polsput. Fabulous job. I went out the other night and just about froze, but the comments that we've had, and I passed them on to Anna and Elise. Somebody came to my door today with a card and a nice letter saying what wonderful job they've done, and also Chris Chester did a lot of work on the snow to get it looking pretty, but I know that Anna and Elise, and probably with a few volunteers that helped them, but they put in a lot of work, so I think they really deserve good credit for that. It was a great show. And you do have an opportunity to catch it one more weekend, right?
Yes, one more weekend.
And it really is nice. So I would encourage anyone
Saturday and Sunday?
hasn't been out
Saturday
there,
and Sunday.
catch it this weekend. It will be well worth the drive.
And warmer out, I think.
And warmer.
You can always warm up by the bonfire.
Okay, agenda item 6.1, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to approve as presented the minutes from the November 25th, 2019 regular meeting of Council, and that these minutes be attached to and form part of the minutes of this meeting. Do I have a mover and second for that? All in favor? Right. Move on to our resolutions. Agenda item 7.1, that the Council of Town of Kindersley resolve to direct the mayor and CAO to enter into a tax exemption agreement with Rocky Mountain Equipment Canada Limited for a period of 5 years ending December 31st, 2024. Audrey, do you want to just...
Sure.
speak to
So,
that?
yeah.
Please.
A couple years ago, Rocky Mountain came to council prior to them starting the build out on their lot out there, and asked if they could get in a tax exemption agreement. They currently don't fall under the current tax exemption agreement that we have. Highway commercial doesn't fall. So they did ask if they could get a separate agreement, and council agreed at that time. And so now that the building is built, we're entering into the agreement for their first taxation year of 2020.
Any questions, council? Seeing none, could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Mr. Long, second, Mr. Becker. All in favor? Carried, thank you. And resolution 7.2, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to direct the mayor and CAO to enter into a tax exemption agreement with Marathon Equities Corp. for a period not to exceed 1 year, ending December 31st, 2020. Again, CAO, Audrey?
Yes, through the mayor.
Good.
Yeah, through the mayor to council. So currently we have a tax exemption agreement with Marathon Equities. It expires at the end of this year, December 31st, 2019. That agreement stated that they would pay the taxes on the property but would be exempt to the base tax and the minimum tax requirements. Winstrom from Marathon contacted the town again and asked for a 1-year extension to that exemption agreement, or that we do another one for a year, and so we'll do that on the same terms as the previous one for 1 year, and then hopefully there'll be some economic pluses for him in that year that he can sell some more.
Any questions, council? Not, could I have a mover and a seconder for that resolution? Mayor Irvine, second, Mr. Anderson, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 7.3, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to direct the mayor and CAO to enter into a facility lease and operations agreement with the Kindersley Curling Club. Audrey, any comments on that one?
Sure, through the mayor to council. So this is the Kindersley Curling Club's last agreement expired, I believe, in September, I think, of this year. We've been working with them to get a new agreement made for the lease of the curling rink in the event center. So there's a few changes. They're going to a monthly fee instead of a percentage fee that they had in the past, but otherwise everything else stays the same.
Council, any input on that? I think we've discussed it fairly thoroughly, and there's been ongoing negotiations with the curling club, so I think there's probably no surprises in this for them. So, seeing no queries, could I have a mover and second, please? Speaker, Deputy Mayor Irvine, all in favor? That is carried. 7.4, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to direct the mayor and CAO to enter into a cost-sharing agreement with the RM of Kindersley, number 290, for costs associated with fire suppression and rescue services provided by the Kindersley Fire Brigade. Again, CAO, Audrey?
Yes, through the mayor to council. So this agreement is for the costs associated with the fire hall. We currently have a bylaw in place that has it broke out that we cost share the fire services between us and what used to be the Rural Fire Association, which is now the RM at Kindersley. That bylaw stated that it was, for the most part, 1/3 rural, 2/3 town, with the exception of training, wages, communication, equipment, and that kind of stuff. With the new fire hall, we are proposing more of a 50-50 split all the way across, because they have just as many apparatuses as we do. So we will take this agreement that we've done to their fire board, and then hopefully get it signed as the fire department moves to the new hall.
Any questions of the CAO? Not, could I have a mover and seconder, please? Sir Lawrence, second, Sir Baker. All in favor? Carries. Good. Agenda item 7.5, that the council of the town of Kindersley resolves to direct the mayor and CAO to enter into an airport lease agreement with Traffic Area. To Deputy Administrator Kim.
Sure, through the mayor and council. So actually the next 3 agenda items deal with lease agreements at the airport. We do have 2 leases right now that are in the midst of switching leases out there, lot space basically. So there's 2 agreements for one lot, lot 19. So for the first part of 2020, so for 6 months from January to the end of June, Traffic Aerial will lease that lot, and then the next agreement, or actually 7.7, is Kindersley Airspray will lease that same lot, lot 19, beginning July 1st for basically 2.5 years, so ending on December 31st, 2022. And then Tropical Aerial is going to move over to lot 20 beginning July 1st. So we have a lease agreement for them beginning July 1st for 2.5 years and ending December 31st, 2022. And so this is all the rates effective, and these agreements are tied to the airport bylaw.
So we got 7.5 is with Traffic. 7.6 is with Kindersley Airspray, and 7.7 with Traffic, or whatever it is.
Oh yes, sorry.
Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay. All right, we'll deal with them one at a time then. First of all, I guess, Council, any questions through to Kim on those agreements? If not, we'll move 7.5 first. Could I have a mover and seconder for 7.5? Gary, Becker, and Irvine. All in favor? Carried. 7.6, this is with Kindersley Airspray. Could I have a mover seconder, please? Baker and Becker. All in favor? Carried. And finally, 7.7, this is with Traffic Aerial. And I need a mover and seconder for Anderson, second. Deputy Mayor Irvine, all in favor? Okay. Agenda item 7.8, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to authorize administration to transfer $65,000 to the Recreation Reserve for the following list of projects budgeted in 2019 but not completed. It's the O'Connor Park Irrigation Park, Kinsman Park Skate Shack, that's $20,000. And the West Central Event Center Wall of Champions, 20,000. The first one is for 25,000. Any comments, CAO Audrey?
Yeah, so these are just projects that were budgeted in the 2019 budget. O'Connor Park, he ran out of time with that one, so it's slated to be done first thing in the spring. The Kinsman Park Skate Shack, we're still working on that one, so we did promise that we would put another $20,000 into it, so we'll just put that into the reserve for hopefully next year when that building gets built. And the Wall of Champions, of course, that didn't totally get completed this year. I know there's a committee that's been made or that are going to be working closely on that and getting it and then done. So,
Any comments, council?
Just on page 2, that says 20, if they're not completed by 2018,
2020.
under the recommendation.
Oh, yeah, because they're not completed by 2019.
oh, sorry.
You just see your recommendation.
Oh, sorry. You're right. That should have been 19 under the recommendation. Yeah. Sorry.
Projects budgeted in 2019 but not completed?
No, the recommendation is requested that the budget amounts for the project that will not be completed by December 31st, 2018. It should have read 19 there.
I fixed it by the time it hit the resolution.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay, can I have a mover and seconder for these transfers, please? Mr. Anderson, second. Mr. Burbine, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. Agenda item 7.9, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley hereby authorizes the 2019 write-offs as set out in accordance with Schedule A, which is accounts receivable, Schedule B is utilities, and Schedule C is mobile home license fees, and that these schedules be attached to and form part of the minutes of this meeting. CAO Audrey, can you perhaps
Sure.
to us?
Yeah, so through the mayor to council. So this is basically an annual thing that we write off on collectibles. With accounts receivable, we knew that big one was coming. That is a bankrupt company, and so we could have wrote it off before now, but I needed to put money into that allowance for doubtful accounts, which we did budgeted in the 2019 budget to put that in there. So, and the other ones are just interest, and another one that is just on collections isn't able to collect. With regards to utility write-offs and the mobile home, really, those are just, we've had them at collections, and collections can't seem to either locate them or they can't collect it from them. So we're just trying to move on from getting these off a year or so.
Any questions, council? One accounts receivable is fairly significant, was that?
That's the bankrupt one, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was for back, it's been on the books for quite a while, so.
2016.
Yeah, is the last time it was on there, but I can't remember. Probably landfill is what I think, but I could be wrong.
If everybody's okay with that, then could I have a mover and a seconder, please, for the motion to allow CAO to get rid of these? Councilor Miles, second. All in favor? Okay, Agenda item 7.10, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to direct administration to create an event reserve and that $5,000 be transferred to said reserve from the profit made during the Night of Rock concert held October 18th, 2019 at the West Central Events Center. Audrey, perhaps just for the viewing audience, you could say what we decided to do there.
Yeah, so council decided, we are looking at getting more concerts brought. Of course, there's a bit of uncertainty with any concert you bring in, whether you'll make any money or break even and maybe even lose money on that concert. So council had thought it would be wise to create an events reserve and transfer the $5,000 from 5,000 of the surplus that we made on that Night of Rock into this reserve, so that when we do hold another event and maybe it doesn't go as well as anticipated, that we have that reserve instead of having it to take it out of our general operating.
Queries, Council? What's your ideas? May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Please. Yes. All in favor? Okay, 7.11, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to confirm that the municipality meets the following eligibility requirements to receive the municipal revenue sharing grant. Number 1, submission of the 2018 audited financials to the Ministry of Government Relations. Number 2, submission of the 2018 public reporting on municipal waterworks to the Ministry of Government Relations. 3, in good standing with respect to the reporting and remittance of education property taxes. 4, adoption of a council procedure bylaw. 5, adoption of an employee code of conduct. 6, all members of council have filed and annually updated their public disclosure statements as required. And 7, that the CAO is hereby authorized to sign the declaration of eligibility and submit it to the Ministry of Government Relations. CAO, Audrey, did we do all that stuff?
We did. So this is a new, I guess, check that the government is doing to make sure that all municipalities receiving the revenue sharing grant are compliant with what they need to be. I think this will hit home maybe with your smaller municipalities, but so it's an online thing that we did, and you just check that you've done it, and then this resolution also needs to be submitted, and once we're done that, they will base I feel like they'll be doing it annually for that. What they are doing with this survey right now will not affect the 2020 revenue sharing grant, but it will start affecting going forward. So 2021 and on, you're going to have to be compliant with all of these in order to be able to receive that grant, which ours is just under or just over $1 million that we get from that revenue sharing.
Any questions, Council? If not, could I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councilor Anderson, and Councilor Becker, all in favor? Okay, 7.12, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves that the non-profit group West Central Ag Outlook Committee be approved in advance for funding through the 2020 or April 2020 intake of the community grant program in an amount not to exceed $750. CAO, Audrey?
Yeah, so this was from the West Central Ag Outlook Committee. Basically, they used to have a grant to help educate the producers, the farmers in the area on marketing, agronomy, succession planning, mental health, for those that, which is, I think, quite important to the ag industry out there. So I guess we're just asking for, now this event I believe takes place in March, so it's to be held on March 10th. So this didn't come in time for our last intake through the community grant. This definitely would comply with what the community grant would offer. So I guess we're just asking council's approval, which I wouldn't pay till, we'll let them know they're doing it, but won't pay for it till 2020, that they get pre-approved for that community grant for the April intake in the amount not to exceed the $750.
Any queries on that, Council? What's the law?
Just make a quick statement, as I sit on the adjudication committee with Mayor Perkins for these, and we've had these requests come in before, and we have obliged and allowed early funding in the past to other groups, so it wouldn't be out of line to what our process has been for ones who are hosting events shortly before a cutoff. So I don't see any problem with this.
If that's okay then, could I have a mover and seconder? Mayor Randy, second. All in favor? Okay. Agenda item 7.13, that the council of the town of Kindersley resolves to approve the following appointments for a term beginning January 1, 2020, and which shall expire December 31st, 2020. Deputy Administrator Kim Vogel, Auditor MNP LLP, Assessor Chief Administrative Officer Audrey Hebert, Building Officials Class 3 Chris Gates of Buildtech Consulting and Inspections, Class 2 Jason Kent of Buildtech, Class 1 Carly Heatcoat of Buildtech Consulting and Inspections. Town of Kindersley Emergency Measures Coordinator Deputy Administrator Kim Vogel. Town of Kindersley Emergency Measures Deputy Coordinator Bylaw Enforcement Officer Melissa Torrens. Planning Consultancy of Record Crosby Hanna and Associates. Engineering Consultancy of Record ACOM. 9 is the Board of Revision, which is Krismer and Associates. 10 Development Appeals Board, Krismer and Associates. That's it. Any questions on that, Council? All good? If not, if so, can I have a mover and seconders for that, please? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Agenda item 7.14, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves that regular meetings for 2020 shall convene at 5 p.m. and be held at the Town of Kindersley Council Chambers located at 106 5th Avenue East, Kindersley, Saskatchewan, on dates as follows. January, Monday 13th, Monday the 27th, February, Monday the 10th, and Monday the 24th, March, Monday the 9th and the 23rd, April, Mondays the 13th and 27th, May, Mondays the 11th and 25th, June, Mondays 8th and 22nd, July, Mondays 13 and 27, August, Mondays 10th and 24th, September, Mondays 14th and 28th, October, Tuesday the 13th through to Thanksgiving and Monday the 26th, November, Monday the 16th and Monday the 30th. These are delayed is the municipal election is November the 9th of 2020. And finally, December, which would be Monday the 14th. Does all sound okay, Council? Any questions? If not, could I have a mover and seconder for those, please? Baker?
Projects that take every second and fourth Monday of the month, except when
All in favor?
the Monday
You all in
is
favor
a
of that?
holiday or an election
Thank
day.
you.
We just
Okay. Agenda item 7.15A, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to approve the list of representations to committees and boards January 1, 2020 to November 9, 2020, and that a copy of said list be attached to and form part of the minutes of this meeting. I'll tell you right now that Audrey and I kind of pulled names out of hats a little bit here and moved some things around a bit just to try and switch it up. And if anybody doesn't like where they are or wants to trade or anything, it's absolutely fine, because a couple that I'm on that I would be more than happy for somebody else to go on, but they're during the day, and I hate to ask anybody that is working to take time off to go to a meeting at 1:30 or 10:30 or something. So I've kind of held a couple of those, but if they're all okay, fine. And if not, we can certainly switch them up down the line. Anybody have any comments, or have you studied the 4 pages of stuff here? I don't think there's a lot of changes. I maybe moved a couple around, or maybe 3 or 4 in total. I tried to give Rob and Chris a little more to do.
I'm good. I like the industrial park one.
That one will get busy this
You're
year.
there for that reason. You live there. It's in your neighborhood.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, as I said, these are all subject to change anyway, so they can amend them at any point in time, just by written notes. So if they all look okay so far, can I have a mover and second, please? Chris? Second. All in favor?
about that.
Okay.
Oh, there's a B here.
715B, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to approve the Town of Kindersley Cemetery Committee terms of reference, which shall supersede all previous terms of reference for the Cemetery Committee or any amendments thereto, and that a copy of said terms of reference be attached to and form part of the minutes of this meeting. CAO Audrey, help.
Yeah. So this is just the terms of reference to the cemetery committee. We, the previous terms of reference had the meeting, I think, once a month. Am I wrong? Or at least something like that. And anyway, half the time they didn't, there wasn't even a quorum to have the meeting. So we thought we would kind of regroup the committee, have them meet kind of once in the spring before any work at the cemetery, and then after the season to see how it went and their thoughts going forward with that. And yeah, that's basically what we changed on that one.
Further to that, Audrey, there was, remember the conversation with them that they preferred that they would set the meetings at the last meeting of the year.
Right. Yes, they wanted to have those set instead of, I think it was at the call of the chair previous
So
to
after
that.
becoming established according to the terms as set out here, and the committee shall meet.
Yeah.
Which gives them a little more latitude in regards to projects. And that was
Right.
something that we talked about last week, super busy last week.
Any further queries, comments? If not, can I get a mover and seconder for the resolution, please?
This one I have no idea.
Second. All in favor? Carried. Agenda item 7.15C, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to approve the Town of Kindersley Communities in Bloom Committee terms of reference, which shall supersede all previous terms of reference for the Communities in Bloom committees or any amendments thereto. And a copy of said terms of reference be attached to and form part of the minutes of this meeting. Again,
Yeah.
you got any comments?
I don't have a lot of comments on this one. I know Monica worked with Chelsea on this. Can you, I'm not sure what exactly changed on this term of reference. Anything?
Thanks, CAO, through to your worship. It's just basically, again, tightening up the language to match, and that they shall meet each year as dates and times determined by the committee, so that the communities in bloom. It used to have on it that it reported back to something I checked with Deputy Administrator. It had in its minutes something that it reported back to a certain government body that it did not report back
Right.
to. And so over the years, with so many people covering this project, it must have been just a typo. And so that we were
Clean that
able
out
to
as well.
do some little hunting on that and just tighten up the wording a bit. So other than that, and again, the meetings after becoming established, they would meet at the call of the chair. As again, it was something that, this is a committee that works specifically with administration for beautification projects within the town, so as the need arises.
Okay, no questions, do I have mover and seconder again for this, please? Second, Chris. All in favor? Okay, we'll move on to 7.16, financial reports, CAO Hebert.
Okay, the mayor to council, so we're darn near done the year. This is at the end of November. Just the larger ones, the bylaws, a lot of these had been noted before. Bylaw offenses are just less than what the budgeted amount. Professional services, again, are currently under the budgeted amount. Ice rentals, a concession, are also under the budgeted amount, but that'll be, a lot of that'll get fixed here in December. The playground expense is low because the Kinsman Park project, the shack ended up not being done in 2019. The ice for the outdoor rinks, of course, is just going in, so those expenses are just going to be coming in. We didn't do very much maintenance at the library, us personally anyway, so that is under the budgeted amount. And again, as before, the revenue for the grant is we have yet to receive any of our lagoon grant funding.
Any questions on the finances? Good. Okay, we'll move on to 8.1. The council of the town of Kindersley resolves to accept as submitted the list of accounts as paid by the town of Kindersley and in the amount of $622,011.35, and that a copy of said accounts be attached to one part of the minutes of this meeting. Did you receive any questions
I
or
did
queries? None? Any now, Council? Everybody must be happy. There's a big payment on paving for $120,000, and school taxes remittances were another 60 some, and 40,000 for the water treatment. So yeah, there's some big numbers in there, but pretty much standard operating stuff for the month. Could I have a mover and seconder for the payments? So Baker, second by Lear, all in favor? Carried. Okay. We got a few bylaws to work our way through here, so agenda item 9.18. That the Council of Town of Kindersley resolves to approve the first reading of bylaw 12-19, being a bylaw of the Town of Kindersley to provide for the management of solid waste. I'll just pass that on to Deputy Administrator Kim to tell us all about it.
Sure, so this is just a bylaw to amend our current, or actually I guess repeal our current waste bylaw, and it adds in the environmental fees that previously we used to have that in our water rates bylaw, and that was never really the right place that our environmental fees should be put. They should be in the waste bylaw, because what those environmental fees reflect is just our recycling. So what this bylaw does, since we took it out of our water rates bylaw that was just passed recently, we needed to add it into the solid waste bylaw. So the rates did increase slightly, just obviously due to the cost of recycling. We do have the curbside program, so if anybody has any questions?
Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder, please, for that? Mr. Moss, second. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we're gonna carry on with this, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to approve the second reading of bylaw 1219. Again, I need mover seconders, please. Divine, Baker, all in favor? Carried. And 91C, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to approve that 3 readings be given to bylaw 1219 at the December 16, 2019 regular meeting of council. Mover, seconder, please. Irvine, Anderson, all in favor? Carried. And finally, 91D, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to approve that bylaw 1219 being a bylaw of the Town of Kindersley to provide for the management of solid waste be read a third time and hereby be approved, and that the approved copy of this bylaw be attached to and form part of these minutes. Finally, mover, seconder, please. All in favor? No. Which ones are really just once?
That's the.
This one's okay.
Yes, that one's carried.
Okay, second one, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to approve the first reading of bylaw 1319 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 1017, a bylaw to regulate the Kindersley Regional Airport and to provide for airport authority rules, regulations, and fees. Deputy Administrator Kim, you want to speak on that before we?
Sure. Through the mayor to the rest of council. So this is a bylaw to amend our current airport bylaw, 1017. And so it replaces Schedule B in its entirety. We had actually updated Schedule B for the airport fees earlier in 2019. And we had introduced operating annual fee, so we're going to keep all of that the same, so none of that is changing from what we had done last time. The only parts of Schedule B that are changing are we're adding in a 3-year increment for the hangar and the lot fees, so that's based on a per meter charge, and so it had stayed historically the hangar fee at $1.60 and the lot fee at $1.20. So because it had stayed the same for so long, we're trying to get it to where it maybe needs to be. And so for the next 3 years, there'll be a 10% increase on the $1.60 and $1.20. And so we're only doing first reading tonight. And then, so what we're going to do is we will send this out to all of our airport users and the airport board, so everybody sees this, and then in January, this bylaw will come back for second and third reading. And if anybody has any suggestions or questions, or we'll take those into consideration at that time, and those will come to council before we do the second and third reading.
For sure. Anything else? If not, can we have a mover and seconder for the first reading? Councillor Moss, second. Irvine, all in favor?
Your worship, as just a note of clarification for our media in-house today, that which I would have provided to you as part of the council package, we did find one typo, and it has been since amended. in the schedule. So the one you would have received prior to the meeting, our deputy administrator can share with you after the meeting that.
We'll move into
Correct.
Okay. This is agenda item 9.3A, that the council of the town of Kindersley resolves to approve the first reading of bylaw 14-19, being a bylaw of the town of Kindersley to regulate the maintenance and management of water, sanitary, stormwater, and plumbing systems. Deputy Administrator Kim, can you just update on that, please?
Sure. So this bylaw basically repeals bylaw 1609. So it's the maintenance and management of water, water and sewer, and plumbing. It also incorporates 3 other bylaws. So there was 2 amendments that were on the books. One was for sub pumps. Another one was for violations with bypass valves and so forth. And then there was another bylaw which was just about water conservation. So all of those 4 bylaws now are incorporated into one. A lot of the organization in all those bylaws were made a little bit clearer within this bylaw just to aid us in interpretation. There was a lot of gray areas just with residents or plumbers or town staff. So we're hoping that this bylaw makes everything a little bit easier. The sewer auger policy, for instance, there's a schedule that shows the areas of town where the annual preventative sewer auger is applicable. So basically those are in the areas in our basic core of east and west. So the areas with boulevard trees and that have older piping in town. There's a section that talks about if there's discrepancy in water billing, the process that the resident has and the town should follow. It speaks to bypass valves in here and the violations associated with that. Basically, it talks about all the service line connections, water and sewer, water meters, everything is covered in here. So we're just wanting to do one reading of this bylaw tonight. We'll put it out too as well to the public, and if anybody has any questions on that or whatever, then it'll get second and third reading in January.
Any questions, council? Good. Okay, if not, I will ask for a mover and seconder for the first reading. Second. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Agenda item 10.1, that the council of the town of Kindersley resolves to approve the consent agenda, including the following items. Domestic correspondence, SAS Public Safety, SAS Health Authority, SAS Baseball Hall of Fame, SAS Water Security Agent, 2 from there, 1 to alter a permit, well, 2 of them to alter permits, I believe. Nothing too earth-shattering, so could I have a mover and seconder to move on with that? All in favor? Okay. Agenda item 14.1, that the council of the town of Kindersley resolves that all business having been concluded, the December 16, 2019 regular meeting of council be adjourned at 7:57 p.m. Mover, seconder, please. Baker. All in favor? Carried.